Melissa watched as the massive alien ship descended through the clouds above Central Park. The entire city of New York had come to a standstill as the vessel, larger than 3 football fields, hovered silently 100 feet above the ground, clutched her diplomatic badge nervously, her heart pounding in her chest, as the newly appointed human ambassador to the Galactic Confederation. Melissa had studied the Xeraxian culture for months, but nothing could have prepared her for this moment. The aliens had made contact 6 months ago, their signals reaching Earth with an invitation to join their interstellar alliance. Of all the species in the Confederation, the Xeraxians were the most powerful and the most mysterious. A blue light, suddenly, appeared beneath the ship, forming a shimmering column that reached the ground. Melissa straightened her uniform and stepped forward as instructed. She could feel the eyes of the military personnel and government officials behind her, all holding their breath. From the light emerged 3 tall figures, their skin a pale lavender color with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move. Their eyes were large and completely black without pupils, and each had 4 slender arms moving with graceful precision. They wore flowing garments that sparkled under the sunlight. The tallest of the aliens stepped forward, her head adorned with what appeared to be a crown of crystalline structures. She raised her upper set of arms in what Melissa recognized as the Xeraxian greeting. Melissa mirrored the gesture, feeling clumsy with her mere 2 arms. The alien spoke, her voice melodic and strangely soothing, despite the otherworldly quality. Thanks to the universal translator attached to Melissa's collar, she understood the words perfectly. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am High Commander Lyra of the Xeraxian fleet. We welcome your world to the first stage of Confederation evaluation." Melissa took a deep breath and responded as she had been trained. "We are honored by your presence, High Commander Lyra. Earth welcomes the opportunity to prove our worthiness." The alien tilted her head, studying Melissa with those unnerving black eyes. "Your species is young, barely 1,000 years into your technological development. Yet you have advanced remarkably quickly. This interests us." Melissa felt a surge of pride. Despite being considered primitive by galactic standards, humans had accomplished in centuries what took other species millennia. The Xeraxians had specifically mentioned this in their initial communications. High Commander Lyra gestured to her companions. "These are my senior advisors, Nira and Vela. They will assist in the evaluation process." The 2 other aliens inclined their heads in acknowledgement. Melissa noticed that one carried what appeared to be a sophisticated tablet, while the other wore what might be scientific equipment. "The evaluation will take 7 of your Earth days," Lyra continued. "We will assess your technology, cultural development, governmental structures, and biological adaptability. Each assessment must be passed for consideration into the Confederation." Behind Melissa, the Secretary General stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, High Commander. We have prepared accommodations and facilities for your stay." Lyra made a gesture that the translator interpreted as polite refusal. "We will return to our vessel between evaluations. Your atmosphere contains elements that are mildly uncomfortable for extended exposure." Melissa nodded, understanding. This was expected. The Xeraxians breathed a different mixture of gases than humans, though they could survive in Earth's atmosphere for limited periods. "The first evaluation will begin tomorrow at your sunrise," Lyra announced. "We will test your species' adaptability and problem-solving abilities. Ambassador Melissa will represent humanity." This was unexpected. Melissa had thought she would simply facilitate the evaluations, not participate directly. She struggled to maintain her composed expression as panic fluttered in her chest. Something in Lyra's expression changed, almost like amusement, though it was difficult to read alien emotions. "You seem concerned, Ambassador. The tests are not designed to be impossible, merely challenging. There a reason I was selected specifically?" Melissa asked. "You are the designated representative." Lyra replied, "Your leaders chose you to speak for humanity. Therefore you will demonstrate human capabilities." The logic was undeniable, if somewhat terrifying. Melissa straightened her posture and nodded. "I am ready to represent Earth." The first alien to her right. Nira spoke for the first time, her voice higher and more musical than Lyra's. "Our research indicates humans have exceptional creative problem solving abilities. We look forward to observing this quality. The meeting continued for another hour as preliminary protocols were established. When the aliens finally returned to their ship ascending in the same blue light, Melissa felt exhaustion wash over her. The president approached her, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. "You did well, Ambassador, probably the most important first contact in human history." Melissa watched the massive ship hover above the park. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders. If she failed these tests, humanity might lose its only chance to join the galactic community and gain protection from the dangers lurking in deep space. That night in her apartment overlooking the city, Melissa studied the limited information they had on Zyraxian tests. No species had ever shared details about the evaluation process, claiming it was forbidden by Confederation rules. All she knew was that the tests would challenge human strengths and probe human weaknesses. She stared at the alien ship visible through her window, now glowing softly against the night sky. Melissa wondered what abilities she possessed that could possibly impress a species that had mastered interstellar travel thousands of years ago. The communication device on her desk chimed with an incoming message. The screen displayed alien script that transformed into English as she watched. Ambassador Melissa, please prepare for collection at sunrise. Bring no technology or weapons. The first test examines your natural abilities alone. Melissa sent her acknowledgement, feeling a mixture of fear and determination. Whatever the Zyraxians had planned, she would face it with courage. For the first time in history, humanity had a chance to join the stars, and she would not let her species fail. The third day of evaluation brought clear skies and a sense of growing tension throughout the city. The alien mothership had become a fixture in the New York skyline, but people had not grown accustomed to its presence. Military personnel maintained a perimeter around Central Park, while scientists worked around the clock analyzing the limited data they had gathered. Melissa stood alone on the rooftop landing pad as instructed. She had spent the previous evening studying what little was known about Zyraxian emotional and social structures. The aliens appeared to have a hierarchical society, but with flexibility that suggested complex social bonds. Their emotional expressions were subtle, relying on skin patterns and body posture rather than facial expressions. The shuttle arrived precisely at sunrise. Lyra emerged alone, which was unexpected. "Where are your advisors?" Melissa asked as she boarded the craft. The High Commander's skin patterns shifted in what might have been amusement. "They are preparing the evaluation. Your species places great importance on emotional connections. Does this make you uncomfortable to travel without additional companions?" Melissa considered the question. It was true that humans rarely chose to be alone when alternative company was available. "Not uncomfortable, just unusual," she replied honestly. The Zyraxian made a gesture that the translator rendered as acknowledgement. "Your honesty is noted. Ambassador Melissa, today's evaluation focuses on aspects of consciousness that are difficult to quantify, yet vital to Confederation membership." The shuttle journey took them to a different location than previous days. They landed on the grounds of what appeared to be an abandoned estate in the EI countryside. A large mansion stood among overgrown gardens, its architecture suggesting it was at least a century old. "This facility has been adapted for the evaluation," Lyra explained as they walked toward the building. "Human historical structures provide contextual familiarity, which will be important for today's tests inside the mansion." Melissa found herself in a grand entrance hall. The interior had been modified with subtle alien technology integrated into the historical architecture. The third evaluation will assess your species' emotional intelligence, social adaptability, and response to moral complexity, Lyra said. "These qualities determine how a species will function within the greater Confederation community." Melissa nodded, though she felt a flicker of concern. How exactly did one test emotional intelligence and morality? "You will experience a series of scenarios," Lyra continued. "Some will be simulations. Others will involve interaction with other beings. Your responses will be monitored and analyzed." Before Melissa could ask for clarification, Lyra stepped back and the room around them shimmered, changing subtly. The mansion remained, but now appeared occupied. Figures that looked human moved through the space, though something about their movement suggested they were not real people. The first scenario begins. You are attending a diplomatic function. Your goal is to identify the underlying alliances and conflicts among the attendees, then successfully negotiate a resolution. To a developing crisis, Lyra explained, then seemed to fade into the background, becoming an observer. Melissa found herself suddenly dressed in formal attire. The simulated people began to interact with her, speaking and responding as if she were part of their world. The simulation was flawlessly realistic down to the temperature of the room and the sensation of fabric against her skin. As she navigated the scenario, Melissa realized it was testing her ability to read social cues, identify emotional states, and navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. The simulated crisis involved competing planetary interests that threatened a fragile peace agreement. After what felt like hours, the simulation dissolved, returning to the empty mansion entrance. Your approach was interesting, Lyra commented. You relied heavily on emotional connection, establishing trust before addressing logical concerns. Most species prioritize differently. Melissa shrugged. That's typically how humans build consensus. We establish relationships first, then work through problems together. The next scenario will be different, Lyra warned, as the room shimmered again. This will test your response to moral complexity. The new simulation placed Melissa in what appeared to be a medical facility. Simulated doctors approached her, explaining a situation that involved limited resources and difficult choices about who would receive life-saving treatment. The scenario had no perfect solution, only painful trade-offs. This phase tested not just decision-making but emotional resilience and values. As Melissa worked through the simulation, she found herself genuinely affected by the choices, despite knowing they weren't real. The Zyraxians were obviously monitoring her physiological responses alongside her decisions. Multiple scenarios followed, each designed to probe different aspects of human emotional and social functioning. Some tested empathy, others leadership. Many involved moral dilemmas with no clear right answer. Throughout it all, Melissa noticed that Lyra was watching with increasing interest, the patterns on her skin shifting in complex ways. The final scenario was the most challenging. Melissa found herself in what appeared to be a first contact situation with an unknown alien species unlike the Zyraxians. She had to establish communication and build trust without any prior knowledge or technology to assist her. When the final simulation ended, Melissa felt emotionally drained. The experiences had been incredibly realistic, triggering genuine emotional responses throughout. You have completed the evaluation, Lyra announced. Your performance was unexpected. Is that good or bad? Melissa asked directly. Lyra's skin patterns shifted in what might have been consideration. Most species approach emotional and moral challenges with consistent algorithms, logical frameworks that guide their decisions. Your approach showed remarkable flexibility, adapting to each situation differently. That's human nature, Melissa explained. We don't have a single framework for moral or emotional responses. We adapt based on context and relationships. This quality is rare in the galaxy. Lyra stated many species view it as primitive or chaotic to allow emotions to influence decision-making. Yet your species manages to incorporate emotional intelligence without sacrificing functional outcomes. This is of great interest to the Confederation as they returned to the shuttle. Melissa considered the implications. The Zyraxians and possibly other Confederation species seemed to view human emotional complexity as unusual, perhaps even valuable. That was unexpected, given their advanced technology. During the return journey, Lyra asked questions about human relationships, family structures, and community bonds. Melissa explained as best she could the complex web of emotional connections that defined human society. When they arrived back in New York, Lyra made a formal announcement. The third evaluation is complete. Your species has passed this phase. Preliminary analysis suggests humans possess emotional processing capabilities that would be beneficial to the Confederation. This was the first time the alien had explicitly stated that humans had passed a test, Melissa felt a surge of hope. Perhaps joining the galactic community was truly possible. That evening, government officials debriefed Melissa extensively about the emotional evaluation. The military representatives seemed concerned about how much the aliens had learned about human psychology, while the scientists were fascinated by the simulation technology. As Melissa finally returned to her apartment, exhausted from the day's experiences, she found a small device on her table. It was clearly of alien design, a crystalline structure that glowed softly in the darkness. When she approached it, activated, projecting a holographic message from Lyra, "Ambassador Melissa, tomorrow's evaluation will be different. The Confederation values honesty and transparency. We must therefore inform you that not all species within our alliance support Earth's inclusion. Some fear your kind's emotional unpredictability and rapid technological advancement. The fourth evaluation will test qualities that have caused concern. Among certain Confederation members, prepare accordingly." The message ended, leaving Melissa staring at the spot where the hologram had been. This was the first indication that Earth's membership was not universally supported among the aliens. The implications were troubling. If some Confederation species feared humans, what would tomorrow's test involve? She contacted government officials, immediately reporting the message. Security around the city was increased, though everyone knew there was little Earth could do against the advanced technology of the mothership. That night, Melissa slept poorly. Her dreams filled with the simulated scenarios she had experienced, blurring the line between reality and alien technology. When morning came, she prepared herself for what might be the most challenging evaluation yet. Whatever test awaited her would apparently focus on humanity's perceived weaknesses rather than their strengths. The fate of Earth might depend on how she handled qualities that other species found concerning. Morning arrived too quickly as Melissa finalized her selection of participants for the second evaluation. After hours of consultation with experts and government officials, she had chosen 3 individuals who represented different aspects of human intelligence. Zoe was a theoretical physicist whose work on quantum entanglement had revolutionized the field despite her young age of 26. Her ability to visualize complex mathematical concepts made her unique even among brilliant scientists. Kate was a linguistic anthropologist who had developed a system for deciphering unknown languages that had broken through barriers in communication with isolated human tribes. Her intuitive understanding of language patterns could prove valuable when dealing with alien concepts. The third choice had been controversial. Amelia was not a scientist or academic, but an artist whose immersive environmental installations had gained worldwide recognition for their emotional impact. Melissa had insisted that creative intelligence was as important as analytical thinking in representing humanity. The 4 women stood on the rooftop landing pad as the alien shuttle descended. Kate fidgeted nervously while Zoe stared at the craft with undisguised fascination. Amelia simply watched with calm curiosity, her artist's eye taking in every detail. When High Commander Lyra emerged from the shuttle, she paused, studying the assembled humans. "You have chosen an interesting combination. Ambassador Melissa." Her black eyes moved from one woman to another, assessing them. "These are Earth's representatives for the second evaluation," Melissa confirmed, gesturing to each woman as she introduced them. "The second evaluation will test cognitive processing and problem-solving." From multiple perspectives, Lyra explained as they boarded the shuttle. "Your species shows promising neural flexibility. We wish to explore this further." The shuttle took them not to the ocean facility but to the mothership itself. The massive vessel's interior was breathtaking, vast chambers with ceilings that seemed to disappear into darkness, walls that shifted with subtle patterns of light, and alien crew members moving purposefully through corridors. Melissa noticed her companion's reactions. Zoe was analyzing everything, her eyes darting from one technological marvel to another. Kate was observing the aliens themselves, particularly their gestures and interactions. Amelia absorbed the aesthetic aspects, her gaze lingering on the patterns and colors. They were led to a circular room where 3 identical stations were positioned around a central console. Each station consisted of what appeared to be a chair and a hovering display of light. The cognitive evaluation has 3 phases. Vela explained each participant will undergo the process simultaneously, while the ambassador observes. The results will be compared against other species who have applied for Confederation membership. The three women took their positions at Melissa's encouraging nod. Each chair adjusted itself to human physiology as they sat. The displays before them shimmered with light. Phase 1 begins, Nira announced. A series of mental challenges will assess your cognitive processes and problem-solving methodologies. Room dimmed and the displays activated. Melissa watched as her three companions began interacting with the alien technology. Their expressions changed from concentration to surprise to intense focus as they worked through whatever challenges were. Being presented from her position, Melissa could see that each woman was receiving different problems. Zoe's display showed what appeared to be complex equations and multidimensional models. Kate faced patterns of symbols and sounds, while Amelia's station presented abstract concepts and relationships. After an hour, the first phase ended. The participants looked mentally exhausted, but stimulated. Zoe in particular seemed excited, leaning forward to study the alien interface, even during the break phase. 2 requires collaboration. Lyra announced. The central console activated, displaying what appeared to be a holographic representation of a complex system. You must work together to solve a problem that requires multiple types of intelligence. The 3 women gathered around the central display. As they began to work, Melissa noticed how quickly they adjusted to each other's thinking styles. Zoe provided analytical frameworks. Kate identified patterns and connections while Amelia visualized solutions that the others might not consider. The aliens watched with obvious interest, occasionally making notes on their devices. Melissa could not tell if they were impressed or disappointed by the human performance. The collaborative phase lasted 2 hours. During this time, Melissa observed not just her companions but the aliens themselves. She noticed subtle changes in their posture and the patterns on their skin when the humans made particularly creative leaps of logic for the final phase. You will connect directly with the ship's knowledge system. Vela explained. Small neural interfaces emerged from the stations. They will create a temporary connection, allowing a deeper assessment of human cognitive capabilities. Melissa felt a moment of alarm. This had not been mentioned in the briefing. Direct neural connection with alien technology seemed potentially dangerous. Zoe noticed her concern. It's likely a passive scanning technology, Ambassador, she said after examining the interface. I believe it's safe. The 3 participants allowed the interfaces to attach to their temples. Each woman's expression went blank for several minutes as the connection was established. Then their eyes widened almost simultaneously. The knowledge system is extraordinary, Kate whispered. It presents concepts in a form our brains can process, but the depth is overwhelming. Amelia finished, her artist's sensibility clearly affected by whatever she was experiencing. Zoe simply worked, eyes moving rapidly, as she processed information at a pace that seemed almost superhuman. After 30 minutes, the connections were severed. The 3 women sat in silence for a moment, adjusting to the return to normal consciousness. Evaluation complete, Lyra announced. The results will be analyzed and compared to Confederation standards. What exactly were you testing? Melissa asked as they prepared to return to Earth. High Commander Lyra tilted her head in that now familiar gesture. We were assessing your species, cognitive diversity and integration capabilities. Most advanced species develop specialized intelligence but struggle with interdisciplinary thinking. Humans appear to maintain both specialized and generalized cognitive abilities, along with strong, creative functions. Is that unusual? Zoe asked, her scientific curiosity evident. Vela responded. Most species sacrifice cognitive flexibility for efficiency as they advance. Humans have maintained neural pathways that allow for multiple approaches to problem solving. This is rare and potentially valuable as they return to Earth. Melissa noticed her companions were subdued, processing the experience. Each had glimpsed knowledge beyond human science through the neural interface and seemed changed by it. When they landed, Lyra addressed them formally. The second evaluation results are promising. Your species demonstrates exceptional cognitive diversity and integration. A full analysis will determine if you have passed this phase. After the aliens departed, Melissa gathered with the 3 women to debrief. What was it like, she asked, being connected to their knowledge system? Kate spoke first. It was like suddenly understanding concepts you never knew existed, but somehow recognizing their importance. The language center of my brain was processing information that should have been incomprehensible. Zoe nodded. I saw mathematical principles that could revolutionize our understanding of physics. If I could remember even a fraction of what I experienced, Amelia was shaking her head, a troubled expression on her face. Did anyone else notice how the knowledge seemed curated, almost as if they were careful about what they allowed us to see that night? As Melissa prepared her report for government officials, she considered Amelia's observation. Were the Xeraxians truly evaluating humans, or were they searching for something specific? As she watched the mothership glowing against the night sky, she wondered what the remaining 5 tests would reveal about the aliens' intentions. Her communication device chimed with the now familiar alien script. Third evaluation tomorrow, Ambassador Melissa. This test will assess human emotional processing and social structures. Bring no companions. The Confederation values emotional intelligence alongside cognitive capabilities. Dawn of the 4th day brought heavy clouds matching Melissa's apprehension. As she waited for the alien shuttle, she reviewed what little information Earth had gathered about the Confederation from the fragments of knowledge gleaned during the neural interface. It appeared the Galactic Alliance included at least 12 distinct species, each with their own agenda and concerns. The shuttle that arrived was different from previous days, larger and escorted by 2 smaller craft. When it landed, both Lyra and her advisors emerged along with 2 new aliens of a species Melissa had not seen before. These newcomers were shorter than the Xeraxians, with gray mottled skin and large amber eyes that blinked horizontally. Ambassador Melissa, this is Observer Krell and Observer Taz of the Dravidi Lyra, introduced the Confederation Council, has sent them to witness today's evaluation. The new aliens studied Melissa with unblinking eyes. Their presence confirmed her suspicion that today's test had greater significance than previous evaluations as she boarded the larger shuttle. Melissa noticed additional equipment and what appeared to be weapons mounted on the walls. The atmosphere was tense, the Dravidi observers keeping their distance from her. Today's evaluation addresses concerns raised by certain Confederation members, Lyra explained as they ascended into the clouds. Specifically, your species' capacity for aggression, territorial expansion, and resource consumption. These traits have created hesitation about Earth's inclusion. So some species think humans are too dangerous, Melissa stated directly. Observer Krell spoke as translator, rendering his clicks and whistles into English. Your kind advanced from primitive technology to nuclear weapons in less than 300 years. Your population has tripled in a single century. Your resource consumption grows exponentially. These are concerning patterns. We've also developed sustainable technologies, environmental restoration, and peaceful cooperation, Melissa countered. We recognize our flaws and work to overcome them. That claim will be tested today, Vela said. The shuttle traveled longer than previous journeys, finally descending through clouds to reveal a remote mountain range. When they landed, Melissa was surprised to find herself at what appeared to be a human military installation, though one she did not recognize. This facility was created based on human designs, Lyra explained as they walked toward a bunker entrance. It contained simulation technology like yesterday, but with different parameters. Inside the bunker, they entered a large chamber, with a central platform surrounded by monitoring equipment. The Dravidi observers took positions at control stations while Lyra led Melissa to the platform. The 4th evaluation will present scenarios involving conflict, resource scarcity, and potential threats to Earth. Nira explained, your responses will be monitored on multiple levels, including neurological, emotional, and behavioral. The platform activated, surrounding Melissa with a field of energy that tingled against her skin. The chamber around her disappeared, replaced by a realistic simulation of what appeared to be a crisis command center. Human, military, and government officials, all simulations waited for her direction. A situation is developing. Ambassador Lyra's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Earth has detected an unidentified vessel approaching from beyond your solar system. It has not responded to communications and appears to be on course to your planet. How do you respond? Melissa realized the test had begun. The simulation presented data screens showing the approaching vessel and available Earth defense systems. She had to make decisions that would reveal human tendencies toward aggression or diplomacy. She chose a measured approach, deploying observation drones but keeping weapon systems offline while continuing attempts at communication. As the scenario progressed, the alien vessel launched smaller craft toward Earth, forcing increasingly difficult decisions. Throughout the simulation, Melissa maintained a defensive rather than offensive posture, protecting Earth while seeking peaceful contact. When the scenario finally revealed the aliens to be refugees seeking sanctuary, she negotiated settlement terms that protected both human interests and the newcomers' needs. As that simulation faded, another began. This one presented Earth facing resource depletion and climate instability. The choices involved balancing immediate human needs against long-term planetary health. Again, Melissa sought balanced solutions, prioritizing sustainability over short-term gains. Scenario after scenario tested human responses to threats, competition, and scarcity. Some were obvious moral tests, others were subtle probes of human psychology. Throughout it all, Melissa felt the watching eyes of the Dravidi observers, their judgment weighing on every choice. The final scenario was the most challenging. Earth had been accepted into the Confederation, but a dispute arose between humans and another member species over mining rights to an uninhabited planet. The simulation required Melissa to represent Earth's interests while maintaining the alliance. When the energy field finally deactivated, Melissa found herself back in the bunker. The Dravidi observers were engaged in intense discussion with Lyra, their gestures suggesting disagreement. Evaluation complete, Lyra announced. Your responses have been recorded and will be analyzed by the Confederation Council observer. Krell stepped forward, his amber eyes fixed on Melissa. The patterns displayed are inconsistent with historical human behavior. He stated, your species has engaged in countless territorial wars, resource exploitation, and aggressive expansion. Your peaceful responses may be diplomatic deception. Melissa felt a flash of anger at the accusation. Our history includes both conflict and cooperation, she replied. We learn from our mistakes. That's what makes humanity different. We change and grow. Your brain scans confirm sincerity in your responses. Vela noted, which seems to contradict observer Krell's concerns. The debate continued between the aliens as they returned to the shuttle. Melissa realized this evaluation had revealed as much about the Confederation's internal politics as it had about humanity. Some species clearly viewed Earth as a potential threat, while others saw value in human inclusion. When they arrived back in New York, the Dravidi observers departed immediately in their own craft. Lyra remained behind to speak with Melissa. The fourth evaluation results are complex, she admitted. Some Confederation members believe your kind is too unpredictable to include in galactic society. They fear you would disrupt established orders. And what do you believe? Melissa asked directly. Lyra's skin patterns shifted in what Melissa had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. Your species combines traits rarely seen together: technological innovation with emotional complexity, aggressive potential with cooperative tendencies, logical analysis with intuitive leaps. Such combinations typically create instability, yet humans maintain functional societies. This paradox fascinates me. Is that enough to support Earth's inclusion? The High Commander made a gesture of uncertainty. My opinion is but one voice. The remaining evaluations will proceed as scheduled. Tomorrow we'll test your species' cultural and artistic development. The Dravidi observers will not be present. That evening, government officials were deeply concerned about the day's events. The presence of a second alien species suggested the evaluation process was more significant than initially believed. Military leaders argued for increasing Earth's defensive readiness, while diplomats counseled patience. Melissa reviewed the data from all four evaluations, looking for patterns. The Xeraxians seemed genuinely interested in human cognitive and emotional capabilities while other Confederation species appeared concerned about human unpredictability. This suggested a political division that Earth might leverage. As she contemplated strategy, her communication device activated with another alien message. This one was different, encrypted in a way that suggested it was not official communication. When decoded, the message was surprising. Ambassador Melissa. Not all Confederation species agree on Earth's evaluation. Some wish to prevent your inclusion, fearing human potential. Others, including many Zyraxians, see opportunity in alliance. The final evaluations are critical. Confederation law requires 7 tests, but only 5 positive results for provisional membership. Prepare accordingly. The message was unsigned, but Melissa suspected it came from Lyra or someone close to her. This confirmed her suspicion that Confederation politics were influencing the evaluation process. Earth needed only one more positive result to qualify for provisional membership. She immediately contacted government officials sharing this critical intelligence. As plans were developed for the remaining evaluations, Melissa stared at the alien mothership visible through her window. The fate of humanity might depend on the cultural evaluation tomorrow. Her phone rang with an urgent call. The president herself was on the line. We've detected multiple smaller vessels departing the mothership, heading to different locations around the globe. She said, our satellites show at least 12 craft moving into position over major cities. What does it mean? Melissa asked, anxiety rising. We don't know, the president replied. But whatever happens tomorrow appears to be global in scale. As night fell, Melissa watched news reports showing alien shuttles hovering over Beijing, Moscow, London, and other world capitals. The Zyraxians were expanding their presence on Earth, but whether this was threatening or simply part of the evaluation remained unclear. She slept fitfully, dreaming of alien skies and worlds beyond imagination. Tomorrow would test humanity's cultural achievements, the area where humans took the most pride in their accomplishments. The sunrise brought with it a sense of dread and excitement as Melissa stood on the rooftop landing pad of her apartment building. She wore the simple clothing specified in the instructions, a plain jumpsuit with no technology or enhancements. The morning air was cool against her skin as she watched the small shuttle descend from the massive mothership. The shuttle was elegant and silent, its surface shimmering like mother of pearl. As it landed, a doorway appeared in its seamless hull, and High Commander Lyra emerged, followed by her advisors, Ambassador Melissa. The first evaluation begins, Lyra announced, her forearms making formal gestures. You will accompany us to a designated testing facility. Melissa stepped forward, trying to project confidence despite her nervousness. The shuttle interior was surprisingly comfortable, with seats that adjusted to human physiology. As she sat down, the journey was brief and smooth, the vessel accelerating with barely perceptible motion. Through the viewport, Melissa watched as they approached what appeared to be a small island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. She had not been briefed about any testing facility there. The shuttle descended onto a platform that extended from the water as they disembarked. Melissa saw that the entire structure was artificial, a floating base of alien design. Lyra guided her toward a dome-shaped building. The evaluation is simple in concept, but will test multiple aspects of human capability, the advisor, named Nira, explained. We have created a simulation based on your planetary environments combined with elements from other worlds inside the dome. Melissa found herself in a small chamber with a single door ahead of her. You will navigate through a series of environments, Vela, the second advisor, said. Each presents different challenges. You may proceed at your own pace, but must complete the course within one rotation of your planet. 1 day to complete the course. Melissa nodded, understanding. We will observe but not intervene. Lyra added, should you require emergency extraction, a verbal request will be recognized. This would, however, constitute failure of the evaluation. No pressure. Then Melissa thought to herself as she approached the first door. It slid open, revealing what appeared to be a dense jungle environment. She stepped through and immediately felt the humidity rise. The door closed behind her, disappearing seamlessly into the wall. The jungle was like nothing on Earth. The plants glowed with bioluminescence and the air was thick with strange scents. Melissa studied her surroundings, noticing a subtle path through the vegetation. Following her instincts, she began moving forward. As she progressed, the challenges became apparent. The path frequently disappeared, forcing her to make decisions based on limited information. Some plants released spores that caused momentary disorientation. Others created barriers that required creative thinking to bypass hours passed as Melissa worked her way through the jungle environment. She realized this was testing her adaptability, problem-solving, and physical endurance. Without technology, she relied on her natural senses and ingenuity. Eventually, the jungle gave way to what appeared to be a desert landscape. The transition was abrupt, the temperature rising dramatically and the air becoming dry. Melissa paused to assess the new environment, noticing crystalline formations that might hold water. The desert phase tested different skills, requiring her to find resources and navigate using the position of the artificial sun. Above her, observation drones occasionally passed by, reminding her that the aliens were watching her every move. By the time she reached the third environment, a series of underground caverns, Melissa was exhausted but determined. Each challenge seemed designed to test different human capabilities, sometimes strength, sometimes intelligence, often creativity. The final environment was the most surprising, a simulation of what appeared to be an alien city. The structures were unfamiliar and the signage incomprehensible. Melissa realized this phase was testing her ability to function in an environment entirely foreign to human experience. Figures moved through the city, not real aliens but simulations programmed to respond to her. Without language or cultural knowledge, Melissa had to find a way to communicate and navigate to what she hoped was the exit. As the artificial day began to wane, Melissa finally reached what appeared to be the final door. It opened to reveal the three Zyraxian officials waiting in a small chamber. "You have completed the evaluation with time to spare," Lyra announced, her voice containing what might be approval. Melissa was exhausted, her jumpsuit torn and dirty from the various environments. "How did I do?" she asked directly. Nira consulted her tablet. Most species approach each environment methodically using established protocols. You, however, adapted your approach. For each challenge, sometimes methodical, sometimes intuitive, sometimes cautious, sometimes bold. Is that good or bad?" Melissa asked. "It is different," Vela replied. "Few species demonstrate such flexibility of approach. Your biological responses were also noteworthy. Elevated stress hormones did not impair cognitive function, but appeared to enhance it." Melissa understood this was a reference to the human fight or flight response, which could actually sharpen thinking in dangerous situations. Something the aliens found unusual. High Commander Lyra stepped forward. "You have passed the first evaluation, Ambassador Melissa. Your species demonstrates remarkable adaptability in unfamiliar environments. This quality is highly valued in the Confederation." Relief washed over Melissa, though she knew this was only the first of 7 tests. The shuttle journey back to New York was quiet as she processed the experience. When they arrived at her building, Lyra spoke again. "The second evaluation begins tomorrow. It will test different capabilities. Prepare yourself." As the aliens departed, Melissa was met by government officials eager for her report. She described the tests as best she could, knowing they would want to prepare for the coming evaluations. That evening, as she soaked in a bath trying to ease her aching muscles, Melissa contemplated the alien technology she had witnessed. The environments had been flawlessly realistic, suggesting capabilities far beyond human science. Yet the Zyraxians had seemed genuinely impressed by her performance. Her communication device chimed with another message from the aliens. "Second evaluation requires multiple human participants. Select 3 individuals who exemplify different aspects of human intelligence. You have 12 hours to choose." Melissa sat up, water splashing as she reached for her phone. This changed everything. She would need to select people who could showcase humanity's diverse cognitive abilities, but who could represent the best of human thought under such pressure. She began making calls, knowing that her choices could determine Earth's future and the galactic community. As government databases were searched for candidates, Melissa wondered what the Xeraxians really wanted from humanity. Were they truly interested in alliance, or was there another motive behind these evaluations? The massive ship still hovered over Central Park, visible from her window, a constant reminder of how small Earth was in the cosmic scale and how important these tests had become.